Hi, my name is Matt. I'm here for an interview with the prestigious Anthony Greenwood. Just gonna talk a little bit about my life. Did you have any opening questions you want?
My opening question was, what's your name and where you from, and introduce yourself. So you can just keep going.
Grew up in New York, Queens.
Okay.
Moved out to Long Island.
What part of New York? I mean, what part of Queens? Sorry.
Fresh Meadows.
Okay.
I don't know. I was a little kid. I wasn't riding on subways or, my world was my...
So you got a lot of rides in the back seat?
Right by the St. John's campus. 'Cause
Okay.
I used to hear their games at night.
Okay. How was that for your family? Did you enjoy that?
Hearing the games at night?
Yes.
No. I mean, especially, if I was a little kid, I would probably had to be in bed by 8:30. So.
Oh, okay. Nah, I feel you.
But yeah, so I am a teacher. I teach preschool. I taught Spanish for most of my career. Live in Brooklyn now, and I don't know. I lead a pretty interesting life, and just wanted to talk about it a little bit.
Okay. Why did you want to start teaching?
Teacher is in high school. I like that kind of inspired me to think and do research on topics. They were like social studies teachers, and I thought I wanted to do that. So I have a major in history, but I didn't even follow through with getting.
What were some of those?
Because
what were the pieces of information that those teachers gave you that intrigued you?
It was just like talking about debate topics that I hadn't considered, like things like gun control and abortion and stuff like that.
Okay.
It kind of sparked a fire in me, and I also debated a little bit too.
Okay. So, did you broaden your perspective based on the information they gave you?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked researching those and debating about it, I guess.
No, okay, got you. So,
I'm kind of political these days. I wasn't disengaged for a long time, but the election in 2016 really galvanized me because I feel like Trump presents a very real danger to American democracy, and there's a chance that we could fall into a constitutional crisis because he is going to attempt to steal the 2024 election. And there have been a lot of election subversion and voter suppression laws passed by Republican legislatures all over the country that allow them to, in some cases, change the outcomes that they don't agree with of the popular vote. And that is not okay, and that requires people to stand up. And I think a lot of people are fed up with the state of politics because it is so toxic and polarizing, but it's super important to be engaged now because it's necessary for us to combat this potential end of American democracy. Okay. Honestly.
So
sorry, I wasn't planning on talking about any.
No, yo, let it flow. So what would you say to a person who lives in a destitute environment that feels as if no matter that their vote don't count? Yeah.
Yep, and that's true. Sadly, in America, if you live in a heavily Republican or Democratic state, your vote pretty much doesn't count because the votes are going to go to the candidate that, in New York's case, for us, to the Democratic candidate. So my vote literally counts for nothing because I know the Democrat's going to win by a landslide. And almost every state is a winner-take-all state with their electoral votes where whoever gets the majority vote in that state gets all the electoral votes. There's like 3 or 4 that break them down, and they apportion based on the percentage of vote that you get. So if you got like 25% of the vote, you would get 1/4 of the electors.
What is something we can do to combat that
Oh, I mean, I think the Electoral College should be abolished. It's antiquated and it doesn't serve a purpose in modern society, and we're the only country in the world that does not elect, at least democratic country in the world that doesn't elect their leader with the popular vote. It's broken down by state instead because they didn't want to. I don't know.
I did not. You taught me something just now. Mm-hmm. I did not know that we were the only country that chose our elected, our person that we're electing for president, based off of what popular vote? No, electoral votes. Yeah. So I wait, because
so
you're teaching me right now.
The number of electors based on the population. There's something like 450 something or 500 something available, and you have to get to the majority. I think it's like 270 they needed to win. So yeah, it's a state by state contest.
Okay.
Each state has their own mini.
Thank you for teaching me just now, and everybody who's watching this.
But so the electors who are people that represent the state's interest, they're supposed to vote with who gets the majority vote in that state. So in New York, Joe Biden gets 70% of the vote. All of New York's electors, it's like 32, I think, 23, have to go and represent and vote for Biden. In Texas, won by the Republicans narrowly, all of the Republican electors are going to Trump, right? So that's how it was possible. Even though Trump lost the 2016 election by the popular vote, he got like, I forget, a couple million less votes than Hillary. He still won because he won the Electoral College.
Okay.
He got more state electors. And
that's because if you win the popular vote in a certain state, you get all of the electoral votes from that state?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So have you teach for the Department of Education?
I do.
Yeah, and you also teach outside of the Department of Education?
Oh yes, I have a Spanish class on Wednesday nights at Coexist Gaming. So feel free to stop by. It's every other week, so you might want to check on the schedule online.
Okay, but continue with you say you've been teaching at your school for 10 years?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, mostly Spanish, as I was saying. And I taught a couple years of high school Spanish, but now I taught pre-K one other year, and I'm teaching it again this year.
Okay.
And I'm much happier doing that.
What are some of the pros and cons to teaching for the Department of Education?
Amazing benefits, a really great pension and TDA program I can enroll in.
What's TDA?
It's a tax-deferred annuity. It's a tax thing.
Okay.
It makes me good money for retirement.
Tax-deferred annuity. What does annuity mean?
This is not.
I'm sorry.
I guess it is an interview.
It is an interview.
It's not an interrogation, right? I don't know.
Nah, you just piqued a genuine interest because I am studying finance. So tax deferred. You're not paying taxes. So what's the annuity?
Until retirement.
Oh.
Yeah. And it accrues interest, and then I pay it once when I.
Okay.
Retire. That's all.
Are there any cons?
Huh?
I said, are there any cons?
Are there any kinds?
Cons to teaching at the Department of Education.
Sure. Yeah, they're kind of incompetent with some things, inconsistent with their response to coronavirus and weather events. And it depends who's leading them. We had a great chancellor, Carmen Farina, who retired, and then we had like this dirtbag who was grifting us and selling millions of dollars of his private software company he worked for before coming to the DOE, making them lots of money when he became chancellor by getting contracts for their software.
He had a software company before he got his position at the DOE.
He didn't have it. He was an employee, but
Employee of it.
in this company.
And he used being his position in the DOE to get a contract for his company he worked for.
Lots of contracts for different schools, yes, and right below the threshold of how much you need to get it approved by the board. Like, so he knows what he was doing, and he was fucking over in New York City. He also created a bunch of desk jobs that were not necessary to give his buddies like $150,000, $200,000 jobs. There was like 13 of these positions before he came in, and he more than doubled that in a time when, you know, schools are scrambling and don't have materials. And now this year we're actually pretty good. We've been given a decent budget. Most schools have. But, you know, when he stepped in, like, we were struggling and cutting programs and stuff, and he gives his buddies like tons of new created positions, and
so an abuse of power.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there is some kind of investigation about what he's been doing. I haven't really been following it, but just another scumbag taking advantage. There's a lot of New York politicians and politicians in general, right, who are just awful people who seek to take advantage and leverage their power for monetary gain. Right? So, I really have been advocating and trying to push for some friends of mine to join politics, because we need like good people in politics, and there's not enough. People don't take civics seriously. A lot of people are super turned off by how negative and volatile it is right now, and it's a shame because our democracy is fucking falling apart.
Beautiful. That is so beautiful.
Yeah. That is not all what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, I was hoping to get into like my dating life. I don't know if that's a good idea. Maybe
I don't think we could just segue into that
we should table that
from politics and teaching.
Yeah, no. Let's do that after the cameras are.
Yeah, but what I do want to say is I want to ask. Why haven't you gotten into teaching social studies?
I guess just I don't know. When I was in college, I originally was a history major because I liked those social studies teachers in high school, but decided it would be boring to teach history and the same shit every year. I'd get tired of it. I wanted to do more like, you know, current events and debating stuff that you really don't get to in most high school social studies classes when you have like a set curriculum you have to follow, you know. So if I'm teaching,
feel you.
Maybe they devote some time, and I think that they have increased it because they're trying to push better critical thinking skills. So current events is weighed a little more heavily now, but it's still a lot about teaching history. And I thought teaching Spanish would give me more freedom, which it did. I had a lot of leeway with my curriculum, but it sucked as far as I never had a mentor or a guide to follow. I really learned just by doing, because I was always the only Spanish teacher at every school I worked at. And yeah, it's hard to...
I totally relate to having to learn by doing because you do not have a mentor. I was just speaking to my father about this on Christmas. And my father asked me, he's like, who do you trust? Who do you go to when you have a plan and you want to see it carried out until the end? And I had to stop, and I'm like, nobody. And I'm looking at my father.
It wasn't him?
I'm looking at my father, and I have to think nobody, and it's really the truth. So I totally relate. And you're a Spanish. So what I originally wanted to point out was I wanted to ask you how you felt about watching kids learn a language and how that experience when they finally conjugate a verb correctly without you having to remind them 4 times and stuff.
I mean, look, I had to get out of teaching Spanish because, I mean, a lot of it was middle school and my frustration with the attitudes and the hormones at that age.
Okay.
There are still kids that are genuinely interested in learning and like they really want to know this stuff. Some people would argue that's every kid, but if you make it fun, sure. Not everybody is in the mood though. There's a lot of things that get in the way of kids being motivated and ready to learn. Like a lot of them, especially in middle school, are interested in socializing. If they have not been really successful in school in the past, they might be a little more mentally checked out also. And they feel like they have a defeatist mindset and already have their mind made up, like this shit is too hard for me going in, you know? Some people are like that with all subjects. Some people get that way just about like
I'm like that with Spanish.
That they say that they're bad at, like, and that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And if you keep saying, "Oh, I can't do it. That's too hard for me," you're never going to be able to do it, for sure. Learning Spanish was so difficult for me. Actually, it was the only subject that I was not in an advanced track for in high school, in middle school, and I didn't become fluent until like junior year of college, because I started taking conversation classes and then I did a semester abroad in Spain and I pushed myself to just speak all the time. So
for traveling abroad.
Por fin lo logré. I got it at the end.
Oh, you got it at the end. I got you. How was traveling in Spain?
Fue muy divertido.
As you should.
Me gustaba mucho. I mean, yeah, I mostly stayed in Valencia where I was doing my thing, but I also have family in the outskirts of Bilbao, so I spent some time with them there, and a cousin in Madrid, so I went there too. And I've been back to go to Barcelona twice, one for a friend's wedding, and to sightsee a little. It's an amazing city.
How's the architecture?
You know, come on.
But how is it firsthand though?
It's incredible. It's incredible. Go see all the Saudi's buildings. They are all worth seeing.
Okay, we made it to 18 minutes. I want a part 2. So I want you to commit to part 2 on camera.
Right.
And we're gonna, and then
part 2, I'll sit down with you again.
Got you. So say whatever you want to or need to and close it out.
Okay, I got you. Thank you for listening. This has been a wonderful experience. Yeah, thank you, Anthony, for always going around and doing this. This is a very
of course.
interesting hobby you have. And yeah, I look forward to seeing the finished product.
Yeah, you're going to see it soon.
Stay safe, get involved in politics. Yeah, and that's all. I'm going to sign off.